The fluorescent lights in Dr. Rahman's office flickered as I gripped Marcus's hand. "My name is Emma. I am 35 years old." Our 5-year-old daughter Lily sat between us, clutching her worn teddy bear, oblivious to the weight of the moment. "Acute lymphoblastic leukemia," Dr. Rahman said gently. "It's aggressive but treatable. We need to start immediately." My world tilted. Marcus's hand went slack in mine. "What does that mean?" I whispered. "What do we need to do?" Dr. Rahman slid a folder across the desk. "The treatment protocol is comprehensive. Chemotherapy, possible stem cell transplant, specialized care. Your insurance will cover most of it, but there are significant out-of-pocket costs, medications, travel to specialists, experimental treatments if needed." "How much?" Marcus asked, his voice hollow. "Approximately $74,000. The number hung in the air like a guillotine blade. That night, after Lily fell asleep, Marcus and I sat at our kitchen table surrounded by bills, bank statements, and the treatment plan. Our savings account showed $8,300. Our retirement fund had $31,000, but early withdrawal would cost us penalties. "We can take out a second mortgage," I said, circling numbers frantically. "Sell the cars. I can pick up extra shifts at the hospital." I was a pediatric nurse. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd helped save countless children, but couldn't afford to save my own. "Your parents," Marcus said quietly. "Emma, they have money." I stiffened. My parents. Richard and Constance Hartwell, old money from Connecticut, a name that opened doors and closed hearts. "They haven't spoken to me in 3 years," I reminded him. "Not since we refused to send Lily to that boarding school. This is different. This is life or death." He was right. Pride meant nothing when your daughter was dying. The Hartwell estate looked the same, imposing, cold, perfect. I stood at the gate, my finger hovering over the intercom button. Behind me, Marcus waited in our beat-up Honda, Lily asleep in her car seat. "Yes," the voice crackled through the speaker. "Daniel's their butler." "It's Emma. I need to see my parents." A long pause. "Please wait." 10 minutes later, the gates swung open. As I walked up the marble steps, I counted each one, remembering how Natalie and I used to race up them as children. Natalie, my younger sister by 3 years, the golden child who could do no wrong. Mother opened the door herself. Constance Hartwell stood there in pearls and a cashmere sweater set, her expression frozen somewhere between surprise and disapproval. "Emma, this is unexpected. I need to talk to you and Dad. It's urgent." We sat in Father's study, the same room where I'd been told I was making a mistake marrying Marcus, a common paramedic. The same room where they'd threatened to cut me off if I didn't abort my pregnancy at 22. I'd kept Lily anyway. They'd kept their word about the money. Now I sat across from them, my hands trembling as I explained Lily's diagnosis. Mother's face remained impassive. Father tapped his fingers on his mahogany desk. $74,000, he repeated when I finished. "That's quite a sum. I'll pay you back every cent. I'll work 3 jobs if I have to, but I need it now. The treatment has to start within 2 weeks or," my voice broke. "Please, she's your granddaughter." Father exchanged a glance with Mother. Something passed between them, something I couldn't read. "We'll need to discuss this," Mother said. "These decisions aren't made lightly." "How long?" I asked desperately. "We'll call you in a few days." It wasn't the yes I needed, but it wasn't a no. I left with a thread of hope. 3 days later, an ivory envelope arrived in our mail. Thick, expensive cardstock with gold embossing. "You are cordially invited to celebrate the debut of Miss Natalie Grace Hartwell." A debutante ball. For Natalie. At 25, she was years past the traditional age, but Mother had always lamented that Natalie's rebellious phase had prevented a proper coming out. I called the house immediately. "The Hartwell residence," Daniels answered. "I need to speak to my mother about the loan." "I'm afraid Mrs. Hartwell is occupied with ball preparations. She asked me to tell you they're still deliberating." "Still deliberating, while planning a party." Something cold settled in my chest. I couldn't sleep that night. While Marcus snored softly and Lily's breathing rasped in the next room, I pulled out my laptop. Natalie's social media was public, as always. She loved the attention. Photo after photo of ball preparations. Custom gown fittings at an atelier in Manhattan. Menu tastings. Flower arrangements. Each post hashtagged debutante debut Hartwell affair worth the wait. One post showed her with a party planner. The caption read, "Only 8 weeks until the event of the season. Mama says we're sparing no expense. Sparkles." I clicked on the party planner's profile. Victoria Ashford, premier event curator for New England's elite. Her recent post showcased a sneak peek. Working on something spectacular. Think Bridgerton meets Great Gatsby. Budget? Let's just say it's north of 200K clinking glasses. My hands shook so hard I nearly dropped the laptop. The call came on day 6. I was at Lily's bedside in the hospital. We'd started the first round of chemo with what little we'd scraped together, buying us time, but not enough. "Emma," Mother's voice was crisp, "your father and I have made our decision." "Thank God," I breathed. "Thank you, We're declining your request." The world stopped. "What?" "We don't believe it's financially prudent to lend such a sum with no guarantee of repayment. Your track record with financial decisions has been poor, as evidenced by your current situation. My daughter is dying. We're very sorry about Lily's condition. We truly are, but we have our own financial obligations to consider. We're not in a position to help." I thought of those photos, the dress, the flowers, the $200,000 party. "Not in a position," my voice came out strangled. "You're spending a fortune on Natalie's ball." A pause. "That's different. That's an investment in Natalie's future, her social standing. Surely you understand." I hung up. The next 2 weeks were a blur of humiliation. We created a GoFundMe that raised $12,000. I took out predatory loans with interest rates that would bury us. Marcus sold his truck. We moved into a cheaper apartment. It wasn't enough. We were $40,000 short, and Dr. Rahman said we needed the next phase of treatment within a month. I called my parents twice more. Mother didn't answer. Father's secretary said he was unavailable. But the ball preparations continued. Natalie posted a video of the venue, the ballroom at the Connecticut Yacht Club, dripping with chandeliers and silk drapery. Meanwhile, Lily lost her hair. She stopped eating. She asked me why her grandparents never visited. I had no answer that wouldn't break her heart further. I stood outside the yacht club on the night of Natalie's ball. I hadn't been invited, obviously, but I came anyway in my thrift store dress with printouts of Lily's medical bills tucked in my purse. I would make them see. I would make them understand. Security stopped me at the entrance. "I'm Emma Hartwell, Richard Hartwell's daughter." The guard checked his list. "You're not on the guest list, ma'am." "I need to speak to my parents. It's an emergency." "I can't let you in without authorization." Through the windows, I could see it all. Ice sculptures, string quartet, guests in designer gowns and tuxedos. And there in the center, Natalie in a white gown that probably cost more than our annual rent, laughing. My parents stood beside her, beaming with pride. I felt something inside me crack clean through. I waited. For 3 hours, I stood in the cold October wind. Finally, guests began leaving. I caught Father as he and Mother walked to their car. "Dad." He turned, startled. His expression shifted from surprise to irritation. "Emma, what are you doing here?" "How much?" I demanded. "How much did this party cost?" "That's none of your concern." "Lily's been in the hospital for 10 days. We're drowning in debt, and you threw a party." I laughed, and it sounded unhinged even to me. "How much?" Mother stepped forward. "Emma, you're making a scene." $200,000, I continued, my voice rising. "I saw the party planner's post. You spent $210,000 on a party while my daughter fights for her life." Guests were staring now. Good, let them stare. "You chose her." I screamed at Natalie, who'd emerged from the club. "You chose a party over a child's life." Father grabbed my arm. "That's enough, you need to leave, now." "Or what? You'll disown me again. Too late." Security appeared. As they escorted me away, Natalie called out, "Emma, you're just jealous. You've always been jealous." The words echoed in my head all the way home. That night, something changed inside me. The grief, the desperation, the love for my daughter, it all hardened into something else. Rage. Cold, clarifying rage. I sat at my laptop while Marcus slept and made a decision. If my family would sacrifice my daughter for their pride and social standing, then I would show them exactly what they'd created. I would survive this. Lily would survive this. And then I would make them pay for every moment of her suffering. But first, I needed money, fast. I opened a new browser window and began to research. My grandmother, mother's mother, had died 8 years ago. She'd left a substantial trust fund to be divided among her grandchildren, me and Natalie. The terms were clear. We'd each receive our portion at age 30. I was 28, 2 years away from $400,000. But there was a clause. In cases of extreme financial hardship, defined as medical emergencies, natural disasters, or similar crises, early distribution could be authorized by the trustee. The trustee was my Uncle Philip, Mother's brother. Philip and Mother barely spoke. He disapproved of her marriage to Father, called him a social climber, but he'd always been kind to me. I called him the next morning. "Emma," Uncle Philip's voice was warm. "My God, it's been years." I explained everything. Lily's diagnosis, the money I needed, my parents' refusal, the ball. The silence that followed was long and heavy. $210,000 on a party, he finally said. Jesus Christ, Constance hasn't changed at all. "Can you help me? The trust fund." "I'm already pulling up the documents. This absolutely qualifies as hardship. I can have $75,000 released to you by the end of the week." I sobbed with relief. Thank you so much." "Emma," he said gently, "I need you to understand something. This money comes from your inheritance, your future." "I don't care. Lily is my future." "I know, but there's something else you should know." He paused. "Your sister's trust fund. Constance has been borrowing against it for years, with her permission, of course. Your parents are heavily in debt. Keeping up appearances costs money they don't have. That ball, they mortgaged their house to pay for it." My mind reeled. Then why? "Pride," Philip said simply. "Constance would rather die than admit they're not as wealthy as they pretend. Helping you would have exposed their financial situation. They'd chosen their image over my daughter." With the trust fund money, Lily got the care she needed. The next 6 months were brutal: chemo, stem cell transplant, countless hospital stays. But she fought. God, she fought. And slowly, gradually, she started winning. By her 6th birthday, Dr. Rahman used a word we'd barely dared to hope for: remission. Marcus and I celebrated quietly in our tiny apartment, watching Lily sleep peacefully for the first time in months. The medical debt still crushed us. We'd never financially recover. But our daughter would live. That night, as I held my sleeping child, I thought about my parents, about Natalie, about the ball that meant more than Lily's life. And I began to plan. I spent the next 2 years preparing. I took online courses in public relations, social media, and reputation management. I studied my parents' social circle, their business connections, their carefully constructed image. I also gathered evidence. Bank statements Philip provided showing the loans against Natalie's trust, receipts from the ball, records of my parents' mounting debt, screenshots of every social media post Natalie had made during Lily's treatment, parties, vacations, designer purchases. I documented every phone call I'd made to my parents, every refused plea. And I waited, because revenge served cold is revenge served smart. Lily recovered. She started 1st grade. Her hair grew back in curls. She laughed again. My rage didn't heal with her. It crystallized. The announcement came on a Tuesday morning. Natalie was engaged to Preston Ashford III, heir to a pharmaceutical fortune. The wedding would be the event of the decade, according to the New Haven Register's Society page. Mother called me for the first time in 3 years. "Emma, I hope we can put the past behind us. This is a family occasion." "The past," I repeated slowly. "You mean when you let my daughter nearly die?" "That's unfair. We made the best decision we could at the time." "What do you want, Mother?" "Natalie would like you to be a bridesmaid." I almost laughed. "Why?" "Because you're her sister, and because it would look bad if you weren't included." There it was, always about appearances. "I'll think about it," I lied. But I already knew what I was going to do. I accepted the bridesmaid position. I attended dress fittings and smiled through Natalie's chatter about the $85. Zero wedding dress, and the destination bachelorette party in Santorini. I played the role of reconciled daughter. I complimented Mother's planning. I let Father pat my hand and say he was glad I'd come to my senses. And all the while, I collected information. Preston's family was old money, conservative money. Reputation meant everything to them. His mother, Margaret Ashford, was particularly concerned with propriety and public image. I befriended one of Preston's cousins at a pre-wedding party. After a few glasses of wine, she confided. Margaret almost called off the engagement twice. She Googled Natalie and found some wild photos from college. Preston convinced her people change, but his mother is watching for any red flags. Red flags, perfect. The Santorini trip was excessive. $12,000 per person for the bridal party, paid for by Father. I went, using the last of my credit to cover it. Natalie got drunk on the second night and cornered me on the villa's terrace. "You know what I never understood," she slurred. "Why you had to be so dramatic about the whole Lily thing. Kids get sick. It happens." "Dramatic," my voice was deadly quiet. "Making us look bad, showing up at my ball. You embarrassed the whole family." "My daughter almost died." "But she didn't, so what are you still mad about?" She laughed, stumbling. "You always were jealous. Jealous that Mom and Dad loved me more, that I got the life you wanted." I smiled, a real smile this time. "You're right, Natalie. I should let it go." "Finally," she hugged me sloppily. "We're sisters. Sisters forgive each other." I patted her back. "Yes, we do." The next morning, I had everything I needed. Photos of Natalie drunk, videos of her bragging about her engagement, calling Preston boring but rich. Her comments about his mother being an uptight bitch who needs to get laid. All captured, all saved. 2 months before the wedding, Margaret Ashford received an anonymous email. It contained a detailed timeline of Lily's illness, bank records showing the $210,000 spent on Natalie's ball, dated during Lily's treatment, my medical bills and loan documents, screenshots of Natalie's social media, posts during this period, the videos from Santorini. The email explained, in calm, factual language, exactly what kind of family the Ashfords were marrying into. It concluded, "I thought you should know the true character of your future daughter-in-law and her family before making such an important commitment." Margaret Ashford, I'd learned, had lost a grandchild to cancer 5 years ago. The wedding wasn't exactly canceled, but it was postponed indefinitely. Preston called it off 3 weeks before the ceremony, citing fundamental differences in values. Word spread quickly through their social circle. Margaret Ashford had discovered something troubling about the Hartwell family. People talked, they always do. Business partners began distancing themselves from Father. Social invitations dried up. The whispers grew louder. Financial troubles, debt, a granddaughter left to die while they partied. Natalie called me, sobbing. "Did you do this? Everyone's asking me about the ball and Lily, and did you ruin my life?" "I have no idea what you're talking about," I said calmly. "You bitch, you jealous pathetic." I hung up. A month later, a journalist from the Hartford Courant called me. Someone had tipped them off about the story. That someone was me under a pseudonym. Ms. Hartwell, I'm working on a piece about healthcare costs and family obligations. I'd like to ask you about your daughter's illness and your parents' decision not to help financially. I gave them everything. I didn't hold back. The article ran on the front page of the Sunday edition. When a debutante ball matters more than a dying child, one family's shocking priorities. It went viral. The internet is brutal to people who sacrifice children for vanity. My parents' names were dragged through every social media platform. The photos of Natalie's ball alongside pictures of Lily in the hospital were shared thousands of times. Father's law firm quietly asked him to retire early. Mother couldn't show her face at the country club. Natalie deactivated all her social media. 6 months later, my parents filed for bankruptcy. The debt they'd hidden for years, combined with father's lost income and the legal fees from suing the journalist unsuccessfully, destroyed them. The mansion was sold, the yacht club membership revoked, the cars repossessed. They moved into a modest apartment in a middle-class neighborhood. Mother got a job as a receptionist. Father did consulting work from home. Everything they'd valued, status, image, respect, was gone. Uncle Philip called me. You know they're blaming you for everything. Good, I said. Emma, I understand your anger, I do. But this destruction, is it really what you wanted? They chose a party over my daughter's life, I said flatly. They chose their pride. I just showed the world who they really are. And Natalie. I thought of my sister, who'd called Lily's near death dramatic, who'd laughed about it. Natalie made her choices too. 2 years after the article, Mother called. Her voice was thin, aged. Emma, I'd like to see Lily, please. She's my granddaughter I've missed so much. No. Please, we were wrong, so wrong, but punishing us forever. You don't get it, do you? I said. This isn't punishment, this is consequences. You gambled that your image mattered more than my daughter's life. You lost. We've lost everything. So did I. The difference is, I lost it trying to save my child. You lost it trying to impress people who never really liked you anyway. Emma. Lily asks about you sometimes, I continued. She wants to know why her grandparents don't love her. What should I tell her? That you spent her hospital fund on a party? That her aunt thinks her cancer was me being dramatic? Mother's sob cut through the phone. Stay away from us, I said and hung up. Marcus found me that night, staring at old photos of Lily in the hospital. Are you okay? He asked softly. They destroyed themselves, I said. I just lit the match. They poured the gasoline years ago. Do you feel better, now that it's done? Did I? I'd spent 3 years dismantling my family's life. I'd exposed their cruelty, their vanity, their hollow values. They'd lost everything. And Lily was healthy. 8 years old, thriving, with no memory of ever being denied by her grandparents because I'd never told her the full truth. I feel, I said slowly, like I protected my daughter from people who would have taught her that appearances matter more than people, that money is more important than love. That's not what I asked. I looked at him. No, I don't feel better. I feel like I did what I had to do. Marcus held me, while I cried for the first time in years. Not for my parents, not for Natalie. For the sister I'd had before the ball. For the parents I'd wished I'd had. For the family that might have been in a different world. 5 years after Lily's remission, we got an unexpected visitor. Natalie stood at our door, thinner, older, worn. I don't expect you to forgive me, she said. I don't deserve it, but I needed to tell you that you were right about everything. I said nothing. I was shallow, cruel. I let Mom and Dad's values become mine because it was easier than thinking for myself. And when Preston left, when everyone turned on us, I blamed you. For years I blamed you. And now, I asked coldly. Now I'm in therapy. I've been working as a teacher, 3rd grade. One of my students was diagnosed with leukemia last month. Her voice cracked. Her parents are terrified. They can't afford the treatment. And all I could think about was Lily, about what we did to her, to you. She looked at me with tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, Emma. I'm so profoundly, deeply sorry. What we did was unforgivable, I know that. But I needed you to know that I finally understand. Behind me, Lily appeared in the doorway. 9 years old now, curious and bright. Who's that, Mama? I had a choice. I could send Natalie away, shut the door on her like they'd shut the door on us. Or I could show my daughter that sometimes people grow. That accountability matters. That forgiveness isn't about forgetting, it's about refusing to let cruelty define you. This is your Aunt Natalie, I said slowly. She made some mistakes, big ones, but she's trying to be better. Lily tilted her head. Are you going to give her a second chance? I looked at Natalie, broken and finally remorseful. Then at Lily, my miracle, my fighter. I don't know yet, I told them both honestly, but I'm willing to listen. Because in the end, the best revenge isn't destruction. It's living well. It's raising a daughter who knows her worth. It's building a life so full of love that the people who tried to diminish you become irrelevant. And maybe, it's having enough strength to offer mercy when it's earned. I still don't talk to my parents. Perhaps I never will. They made their choice and I made mine. But that day, I invited my sister inside for tea. Not forgiveness, not yet. Just tea. And maybe, eventually, something more. Because the greatest revenge of all is becoming someone better than the people who hurt you. And I already am.